Hello and welcome back to the Dugout. I'm your host, Alexander Cruikshanks. I've got my two co-hosts back with me today, Laurie and Ethan. Laurie obviously has missed a couple of episodes. It's good to have him back. And today we're going to be going over the Scotland squad and looking at the games coming up for this international break in the Nations League and maybe discussing the future of Steve Clarke. But first of all, Laurie, it's good to have you back, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, glad to be back, having served my touchline ban, if you will. But I'm glad to be back. I find it quite typical that one of the episodes that I miss is when, and Alex, I'm gonna give you a bit of credit here, is the guy who makes the thumbnail and does all the cool techie stuff, right? I love how one of the episodes that I miss is the first episode where Kelly, my team, actually featured in the thumbnail. I mean, me and Matty Kennedy have a bit of previous. I tend to like missing Matty Kennedy goals. Listeners to Kelly View will know that all too well.
Mm. Yeah, bit funny that you missed the one where he's actually won a game. But you know, it was some win for you, and hopefully it can kick start your season. Hopefully not for the next game though, but I'm sure we'll get onto that in a future episode. But Ethan, how are you getting on, mate?
Yeah, good. I'm not going to say excited about an international break because who's excited about international breaks nowadays? But yeah, I think these two games, I don't think they mean a lot to Scotland, but I'm sure we'll get into everything and the future of Scotland national team going forward.
Yeah, definitely. First of all, we'll just go into the squad and get initial thoughts. Craig Gordon, Angus Gunn dropped out for Robbie McCrory, John McCracken, Nicky Devlin, Grant Hanley, Liam Lindsay. First time call up for him. Ryan Porteous, Anthony Ralston, Andy Robertson, John Suter, Greg Taylor dropping out for Jack McKenzie, Ryan Christie, Ben Doak, James Forrest, Ryan Gold, Billy Gilmore. A call up for Andy Irving of West Ham, Kenny McLean, Scott McTominay, who's been killing it out in Italy. You've got Lewis Morgan, Shea Adams, Lyndon Dykes, and Lauren Shankland, who just today has dropped out the squad for Kevin Nisbet. Ethan, just looking at this squad, what is your initial thoughts?
Um, got to say, it doesn't. I know we've got a few injuries, but it really doesn't fill me with confidence. We've still got not a kind of our ideal right backs. Both Patterson and Hickey still out, and it still doesn't
Far from
really
ideal
give.
right back.
Yeah, it still doesn't give me any confidence going into the two games. Obviously, we've not got Kieran Tierney either, but he's kind of a lost cause at this point with his injury record just being decimating his career, you could say. But yeah, a few first call ups, which is always great for the players to get their first call up, and hopefully some of them get their first minutes.
Yeah, it's always nice to see, players getting a call up and big for Nicky Devlin, big for Liam Lindsay and the like, Jack McKenzie, young player, getting his call up, albeit due to injury. It's still a big moment for him. Kevin Nisbet back in the side in for another injury, but hopefully, this time at Aberdeen and can rejuvenate his Scotland career because when he came in originally, I think he scored against the Netherlands, and people were kind of resting their hopes on him being the next top man for Scotland to lead the line. Because even then, Shea Adams, although he was fairly new into the squad, he wasn't doing great. And Lyndon Dykes just is Lyndon Dykes. So yeah, Laurie, give us your original sort of thoughts on this squad.
Yeah, I mean, similar to Ethan, it doesn't really fill you with confidence. Of course, the injuries are still, you know, the injuries are killing us. I mean, of course, the run of form Scotland have been on pretty terrible, but I think a lot of it is actually to do with all these injuries. And Aaron Hickey, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, is actually out for the season. I think that's been confirmed already. So a real shame for him, as you mentioned him a wee moment ago. Ethan, of course, when it comes to that squad, there's none of it other than one area in particular that I particularly, dislike. But there's very little that, Steve Clarke and anyone in
Can I,
Scotland
can I
about
guess
it.
the area you dislike? Is it the right
You
back
go
position?
No, what worse?
Oh,
The
really?
goalkeeping situation.
Oh, the goalkeeping
Look at that.
situation. That
Yeah,
might be a
Yeah.
bit worse than having Anthony Ralston, but I don't know. Well, do you want to just dive into the goalkeeping situation?
Right,
Obviously,
let's go for
we've
it.
got our keeper options are Craig Gordon, John McCracken, and Robbie McCrory. I think for me there, it's not great. However, if you were to look at it in isolation, I'd go with Robbie McCrory because I think he's the best keeper out of the three. Craig Gordon, I think, is coming to the end. You've seen him in recent weeks. I don't think he's up to his usual standards, unfortunately for him. But I'd go for Robbie McCrory just on the face of it. However, he's off the back of an injury, and he can be prone to a wee mistake now and again. So weirdly enough, I want John McCracken to start in goals for Scotland.
yeah.
Fair enough.
Well,
Yes.
I was going to say, I think neither of them would fill me with much confidence. I think none of them have had a great season so far in the Scottish Premiership. Obviously, McCrory had that injury, which didn't help him. I think you can see, as you said, Alex. I think Craig Gordon's coming to the end. He's just not making those kind of saves that he did, and his pomp at Celtic, um,
Yeah, and he's
and yeah,
not
you
good
can
enough. He's
see.
not good enough with his feet either. Like,
No, and
he's so bad with his feet, and the one saving grace was that you got those reaction saves, very similar to Alan McGregor. Just
yeah,
the saves he would pull off would be ridiculous. But you know, he's come to that time where he just looks that bit slower.
Yeah,
yeah,
and I think with Alan McGregor, you make a very good point, Alex. I mean, you've seen it, as a Rangers supporter, having watched, Alan McGregor a heck of a lot more than me. The demise is probably quite similar as well. Like,
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd I'd say it's a bit different because McGregor, on the big stage would still make those saves fairly regularly. He did it in that European run. A few saves come to mind, especially against Sparta Prague, where he saves it and then he managed to get his feet up and save the rebound, which he had no right to. That was at Ibrox. But there was just a couple of things that kind of stuck in my mind. There's one against Motherwell. I was behind the goal actually, and it's the shot at his feet, and he kind of like kicks up, like and leans back, and you're like, you should be saving that. I don't know what's happening here. Just little things you notice. And with Craig Gordon in
yeah,
recent weeks, I think he's been struggling to get down to things as quick as he maybe could have done. And that might be attributed to his age or his injury. It could be either one. And don't get me wrong, I'm not tearing into Craig Gordon. It's just a thing that happens. He's old. He's like 41. Yeah,
yep, 41.
yeah.
tremendous career, tremendous longevity. I think he might just be coming to the end of his you know performance levels at the top.
Yep, and Alex, just jump in on that one about longevity. I mean, it's unbelievable because obviously, if you look at what Craig Gordon's went through, and I'm not even talking about the double leg break from what will that be, about a year and a half ago. I'm
Hmm.
talking about before that when, let's face it, most medical league specialists were telling him to retire. And then had a few years out of the game where he was basically a pundit after what looked to be a career-ending knee injury. Then, in fairness to, I think it was Ronnie Dyler at the time at Celtic, took a punt on him after he was training at Hearts for quite a while, and then he still proved that he still had it as a goalkeeper. And most players, especially at Craig Gordon's age, would have packed it in after that double leg break a couple of years ago. So let's face it, as much as maybe we're saying that he's past it now, etc. But fair play to Craig Gordon. Just wanted to make that point. I mean,
Oh no, yeah, yeah,
he,
no, full credit to him. He's had an excellent career and he's faced adversity many times. Even when he joined Hearts, Celtic went, "No, we're not. You're not having. We're not having you here anymore." And he went to Hearts and proved he was still a top goalkeeper. And if I'm not mistaken, the result of that was Vasilis Barkas. So, um, I feel like he came out on top there maybe, and he proved that he still had it. And he's he's overcome a lot. However, sad to say, I think this is maybe his time.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree, and I think you said, Alex, your preferred option would be John McCracken, but even at the weekend for
Aye,
Matty Kennedy's first goal, it's really, really poor, and he should do a lot better. But that maybe is the best option we've got in the squad. I know Angus Gunn split opinion in recent games. Obviously, we've not
well,
got
even
him,
if
so
he was in, I wouldn't be too happy with having him in goals either.
yeah, I'd
Yeah,
agree.
yeah,
Um,
Gunn's a strange one because if anyone watched the game away to Portugal, you'll know because he pulled off 3 or 4 absolutely blinders, world-class saves in that game, and then the
Mm.
goals we concede, at least one of them is 100% down to kind of Angus Gunn almost turning into like
I
kind of
was I
weak
was
form
fuming.
zone.
I was fuming because I was like because I'd kind of been skeptical of him. He should have saved a penalty against Poland, albeit he shouldn't. It was the defender's fault that he faced the penalty, but he should have saved it. And I was skeptical of him. He was making big saves, world class saves, and I'm like, okay. And then he goes and does that, and I'm like, it's just And it's funny because the goalkeeping situation I feel has been one where Scotland we haven't really had to worry too much. Obviously, Marshall had that bit dip and kind of messed up at the Euros, the previous Euros. But then Craig Gordon came back in, and we're like, oh. And before that, we've had Alan McGregor, and for the past sort of 10, 15 years or so, I feel like our goalkeeping situation's been in safe hands. Excuse the pun. But now it's in a bit of disarray, I'd say, and it's a funny one.
Yeah, we've got complacent when it came to goalkeepers because we had that little bit of a, I don't necessarily want to call it a golden generation, but you have 3 or 4 solid guys. But I think maybe a few years ago when you still had the likes of David Marshall in the team, everyone was thinking, you've got Liam Kelly, coming through and, had his time at Rangers, went to QPR and then went to Motherwell, was doing well, had the shaky season last season, so everyone kind of went off him. Then he ended up back at Rangers, but back at Rangers via backup, and then kind of sticking on the Rangers team, of course. A lot of people had high hopes for a man who we discussed a minute ago is in the squad now, Robbie McCrory, but obviously his game time over the years has been quite limited, and that has still applied, maybe partly due to injury at Kilmarnock as well. So I think when it came to goalkeepers, people had higher expectations of the likes of Kelly and McCrory, and some of that hasn't really came to fruition. Although for those two, there's probably still time. Let's be clear,
Yeah,
but
definitely.
mm,
McCrory's still only like 25, which for a keeper is
yeah,
like 20, I guess you could say. However, I feel like Scotland's best goalie is at Hearts, Xander Clarke.
yeah,
I really like last season. I was maybe a bit, but he really grew on me, and some of the saves he's made, and he's half decent with his feet. And I don't know what the situation is. He got injured, didn't he? And then Craig Gordon had to come in. But is he fit now? And they're still playing Gordon over him, or
yeah, they're still just,
yeah,
I
yeah,
think,
that's
yeah.
um,
weird. That's
yeah,
weird.
I don't know what's going on there.
It's, but then the exact same happened at Kilmarnock with McCrory. So, and that's why I was a bit surprised, even as a Kilmarnock fan, see Robbie get the call the other day because he was so Robbie McCrory had a kind of minor injury going into Kilmarnock playing against Copenhagen in Europe to when we put Kieran O'Hara in goal. But McCrory stayed on the bench pretty much the entire time. There was maybe 2 or 3 games where he didn't. But then at least for the last 4 or 5 weeks, McCrory has been, fully fit, and it had taken for him to have made an error against Dundee United's Kieran O'Hara for Robbie McCrory to get his shirt back. So I suspect it's kind of a similar scenario between Clark and Gordon. It's a case of Liam Fox is probably waiting for the kind of moment to kind of put him down
Mm.
nicely almost and say, right, it's on the flop, sure, but but they're trying to wait for a moment where it makes sense for him to be taken out the firing line, Craig Gordon. However, that could be any time considering Hearts' start to the season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I don't know. I don't know if you guys maybe have a different opinion to me, but I think Xander Clark, on the face of it right now, maybe Angus Gunn's up there, but I feel like he's made too many high profile errors. I feel like he is Scotland's best goalie.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, I would go along with that. As you say, it's between Gunn and Clark, and they're both not perfect, but it's certainly a two-horse race between them, and I suppose neither of them are in the squad, of course, hence the frustration. It doesn't feel like there's any, outstanding goalkeepers coming up through the ranks either. I mean, even if you look at like the 21s, maybe there's some good prospects coming through that, but there's maybe not necessarily good prospects in goal as such.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. But well, that's the goalkeeping situation. Sort of. Yeah, it's not great. And I think even probably even with like Neuer and goals, we were going to get battered. But it can make you maybe feel a bit better if you have a good goalkeeper in there. But for me, it'll be John. John, I hope it's John McCrack, which is a weird thing to say.
Yeah,
Uh,
let's just one last point on the goalkeepers, right? Let's focus on the positive. Between our three goalkeepers, there are 75 caps. But bear in mind that it's been one goalkeeper, so it's not really a positive. And so 75 caps between three goalkeepers sounds all right if we break it down. But here's the one that doesn't sound all right. Between the three goalkeepers, there have been no clean sheets in the league this season.
oof, that's not great. Uh, right, on to the defence. You've obviously right, so you've got Nicky Devlin in there for his first call up, Grant Hanley, Liam Lindsay, Ryan Porteous, Anthony Ralston, Andy Robertson, John Souttar, and Jack McKenzie. I think we'll just jump in and go how you think the teams should how the defence should line up. So it's obviously going to be the five, right? Unless Clark falls and hits his head and suddenly has a new outlook on life, it's obviously going to be the five. Um,
Yeah.
it'll be Robertson at the right back. No, not right back, left back position. At the right back position, I'm inclined to take a punt on Nicky Devlin over Anthony Ralston, just based on how well Nicky Devlin's been playing.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
confidence will be flowing through him, whereas Ralston hasn't really played, so I'd go along with that.
Yeah. I think Ralston, he's a good Scottish Premiership right back for a backup at Celtic. But I think if you're really going to the top levels of European international football against the likes of Croatia and Portugal, he's a wee bit kind of, you would rather have someone else. And I think it's only right with Nicky Devlin's domestic performances and Ralston's form for the national team that maybe Nicky Devlin does get a chance. You could put him in and he could be terrible. But I mean, you'll never know until you try him. And I think he deserves a chance.
Yeah, I think the three centre halves pick themselves. Portes, Hanley, and Suter. I don't see any other way
Hmm.
unless Clark has really seen something in Liam Lindsay and he didn't bring him in because of the injuries. Um,
Yeah, the only hope is that maybe that's been the case, Alex, because I don't really think many people in the Tartan Army have much faith in Grant Hanley at this point. I mean, he's been a good servant to Scotland, but I mean, especially after the Poland game, everyone knows that Grant Hanley's got a rick in him, but that was,
yeah,
that was ridiculous. I mean, granted, in the polling game, I was right in line with it, which I think makes it worse. So I could quite clearly see the ball was going out. The ball was practically out, and then he just slides like an absolute idiot. So I would kind of hope that we end up not playing Grant Hanley, and maybe we do have a have a go with Liam Lindsay. But I think he'll play Hanley. He's one of the guys that that Steve Clarke does trust quite a lot.
Yeah. The other two, Porteous, good level English Championship defender, and John Souttar, I think recently has perhaps discovered his best form at Rangers.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think this season he's been Rangers' best central defender, and you can maybe even make the case of just best defender in general.
Mhm.
And I think based on looking at the squad here, I think he's probably the best centre back Scotland have available. I think, as you said, Grant Hanley, um, after that recent game against Poland, he doesn't fill any Scotland fans with any confidence, and maybe Liam Lindsay does deserve a shout to start. I'm not going to say I've seen much of Liam Lindsay, but I know about Grant Hanley, and I know that he can be a bomb scare at times. I think Porteous, although he's obviously got that kind of hot head, as we've seen in the opening game of the Euros, I think he is a good defender on his day. As you said, playing at a good level with Watford in the Championship.
Yeah. Um, Now I think we'll just move on to the midfielders. So the listed midfielders, you've got Ryan Christie, Ben Doak, James Forrest, Ryan Gold, Billy Gilmore, Andy Irving, Kenny McLean, Scott McTominay. Those are the listed midfielders. Yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, John McGinn with his injuries, so that might open an opportunity for someone to step in. Uh, I'd obviously, I'd say Gilmore and McTominay are locked, given that they're in the starting lineup. But I'd say that last spot is maybe open for someone to step in there.
Well, that's a couple of spots possibly. If we're just going with one striker, then
Yeah,
maybe.
well, I've got a inkling as to what. Well, I've got an idea of what I think the striking sort of partnership will be. Uh,
All right.
we kind of play with two up top, don't we? Though one of them's like
Yeah.
a floater, he kind of drops in, and I've got someone in mind who I think would be decent there.
Yeah, thinking about it, I've got one as well. Let's see if we share each other's view in a minute, I guess. But I can thinking about it as well, I can see us trying something
but
I
that
wouldn't
sort
be
sort
against
of
it.
three is kind of well, McTominay plays a bit more advanced, makes those late runs, but it's sort. I guess you could say it's not a flat three, but for the sake of it, we'll say it's a flat three. Three
Yeah.
centre midfielders by trade. And to be honest, I think it'll be Kenny McLean.
Yeah, I think he'll be in the team as well. Yeah.
Mhm. Aye,
Uh,
and he divides opinion. I mean, I'm somebody who doesn't mind Kenny McLean, but
don't
like,
mind him either. I think he always does a good job.
yeah, and that's why Steve Clarke always picks him because and even if he doesn't start and he comes off the bench, he's a guy that Steve Clarke can trust. Well, both to see every game and in high pressure moments because, of course, there was that one in the kind of baking heat in Oslo where I'm quite sure we were all probably prancing around the living rooms or wherever we were watching that game. And then, of
Mm.
course, if I remember correctly, in both the shootouts that led us to the delayed Euro 2020, McLean was hitting a decisive penalty. And McLean, I mean, from our side anyway, of course, David Marshall being the hero, but like the decisive Scottish penalty was his. So he's
Yeah,
someone that I trust implicitly.
Yeah.
definitely.
In that midfield selection, I was talking about there, guys who can play off the striker. There seems to be a lot of them, and that you've obviously got Forrest, Gold, Doak, and then later on in the list of attackers, I think Lewis Morgan could play there as well. So there's a lot of options in there, but I feel like the midfield's pretty cut and dry. Maybe I don't know. Maybe we might see Andy Irving, but I think that three will be Gilmore, McLean, and Scott McTominay, who the two Napoli boys playing well in Italy. McTominay's been enjoying an early goal recently. I think he scored very early in his debut, and he scored like 20 seconds into the game the other day or something. And they're top of the league, so good. It's good for them. And I'd say even with their injuries, it's maybe still the strongest part of our squad.
100% is the strongest part of our squad, without question. And obviously, in the past, you would say it was left backs, but just now it's not that. I wouldn't say so. It's definitely the strongest part of our squad without even a debate for me in midfield. I mean,
Mm.
this as well. There's, as you say, even with the injuries, there's midfielders who are still, desperate to get back from injury. Of course, John McGinn, as you mentioned, Lewis Ferguson will obviously be back in the new year. I mean, wish him all the best in his recovery from his ACL. But even those guys, and then you get into a debate around some young midfield prospects as well. I mean, I know there's been a lot of calls for, I would say Lennon Miller in particular, but like David Watson to get into squads. But I mean, those two,
I want to make a wee call. I've got a wee bone of contention. Good for Andy Irving, but what does Connor Barron have to do? You know,
I think another
he
one,
obviously
yeah,
made a mistake against Leon. However, I think he's been brilliant. So,
yeah.
one mistake surely doesn't make you a bad footballer.
I would agree with that, Alex, completely. And the thing is, and Barron's another example. I mean, you've got guys like, Barron, Mellon, and Watson who are kind of on that periphery, maybe a little bit young in the case of Mellon and Watson, you could argue. But the point is, there's three quality options who aren't even getting anywhere near the squad. So midfield, even long term, we don't have an issue with.
Yeah.
We were talking about earlier on getting complacent with goalkeepers. No one get complacent with the midfield as well, but like the midfield does seem, I think, to be solid for the next few years for sure.
I
Yeah.
think
Oh,
I
sorry.
was just going to say, sorry. I think I was going to say on the Collar Barron and Lennon Miller point, and also David Watson, as Laurie said. I think with the importance of the Scotland under 21s games, I think they've got the last two games of their qualifying campaign, and they can still be in the running for the Euros under 21s. So I think with the state that the Scotland squad's in now, and maybe unrealistic that Scotland do anything with this Nations League campaign, that maybe Steve Clarke prioritises getting some of the younger players, that kind of development of being at a major tournament, albeit an under 21s. It'd be a great achievement for the under 21s. So I think that might be why your Connor Barrons and your Lennon Millers are maybe held back a little bit. Um,
Yeah, I'd agree with that, except for maybe with Miller and Watson, who are 18, 19. Conor Barron's 22. He's a senior
Yeah,
footballer. He's been playing for Aberdeen for a good while, and now he's basically the first name on the team sheet at Rangers. He didn't start the other night, but I think that was just a rotation. Nicholas Raskin's sort of been coming back from his injury. He did play really well against St Johnstone, but Conor Barron is a guy who a lot of Rangers fans have grown to sort of see as the first name on the team sheet. And although the Rangers haven't been great this season, I feel like him himself, apart from that individual error, which, let's face it, anyone could have done. It was a terrible mistake, but every footballer makes a mistake in their career. So he was just unfortunate it led to a goal. But yeah, Conor Barron, I feel like should be in there.
I think he based off the merit of the performances this season, but I really do think that I would almost say that the Scotland under 21s break is more important than the senior team. I think you speak about Conor Barron. I know he's had a few full seasons in the Scottish Premiership, but I think he's someone who can go in under 21s and give them that bit of stability. But obviously, I do think he deserves to be in um, the senior team. And I think another midfielder who maybe too late for this one, but I think Celtic's Luke McCowan could definitely make a run at the next squad if he breaks into Brendan Rodgers' starting 11.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. However, I can't see him breaking into the starting 11. I think he was signed to be a squad player, to be totally honest. And I know, we like to think that these opportunities, if a guy will play well, he'll jump in, but and maybe he'll start for Celtic, but I don't think he will. I think he was signed to be a squad player. He's got qualities. He's been good in the Celtic side. However, I don't see him breaking into the Celtic first team, and Clarke has his favourites, but if he has to bring someone else in, it will be on merit. So, you know,
Yeah. Although saying that, I would totally agree on your point on Luke McCowan, but I will say he's actually surprised me at how well he started Celtic. I kind of thought he'd be, I don't want to quite say out of his depth because he was very good for Dundee, but he actually surprised me how well he'd actually
like
fitted into the team. But
like Gary Mackay-Steven or something, or
yeah,
uh, Nadir
yeah,
Chichi.
almost. Yeah, I almost kind of at that level, of course, coming from the other side of Dundee. I mean,
Oh,
or,
across the
or should
road.
I say, across the road? Yes. But yeah, almost of that ilk. That is how I saw it, and that sounds quite disrespectful to McKibben actually based on how he started. But that is how it kind of looked from the outside in. But you know what? He started well, and for McKibben long may that continue. And you never know, he may end
Maybe,
up with
maybe he'll turn out
one
like
finish.
the other signing, Stuart Armstrong, and sort of turn into this sort of stalwart in the side, you know.
But
Yeah,
you
Um,
never know.
I think he definitely he doesn't look out of place in a Celtic shirt based off I think what we've seen so far. Obviously you get the bigger names, but I think he's definitely one to keep an eye out for. But I think, as we said, the midfield's very strong, and we've got loads of options, which is maybe the one bit of the park where we are blessed for options.
yeah, now on to an area where we've not been blessed for a while. The striker positions, the selections: Lewis Morgan, Shea Adams, Lyndon Dykes, and now Kevin Nisbet. To be totally honest, I don't really. This is like this is probably the most depressing part of the pitch, maybe other than the goalkeeper situation, but at least that's somewhat fun to talk about. This is like, but Shea Adams has been playing well in Italy, 4 goals in 8 games, so maybe give him a chance. But you know, it's from what we've seen in a Scotland shirt, it's not been great. Maybe I'm just maybe I'm just like hopping on the bandwagon of give the new guys a chance and that sort of thing. But I'd be inclined to just throw Kevin Nisbet in there. I don't think he'll get any minutes, but I'll be like, just give me something fresh, just give me something different. And I think, well, I think it will be probably Lyndon Dykes, which is, you know, because he's Steve Clarke's guy, and I think he should try and play Ben Doak off of him.
Oh,
Oh,
that's a
that's
bold shout.
interesting.
That's my
I,
shout.
I think.
I think Ben Doak should be playing off of him in the last international break. I thought he was brilliant, and um, just give him the chance.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's definitely interesting. I think, well, how long ago would that have been now? Maybe 4 months ago, we were debating on whether Ben Doak should have went to Germany. And obviously,
I don't want him to go to Germany, and
yeah,
I've
I
fully
think
turned around for him.
he got that injury anyway that kind of kept him out. But I think he's definitely an exciting player for the future. It's just whether you want to throw him in the kind of deep end. But I mean, is Scott? I don't know about yours, but is this kind of break really riding on much? I think,
No, I think it's an opportunity to try these guys.
yeah,
You know,
I'd
because
Definitely.
agree.
I don't think we're going to get, like you've said earlier, Ethan, I don't think we're going to get anything out of this group because we've lost a game that, you know, was probably the most winnable, and
Yeah,
we've blown a 1-0 lead to probably the strongest team in the group, thanks to a bit of masterful goalkeeping from Poppadom wrists. But, you know, but I've lost my point there. But yeah, I think this is the chance to try these guys and just give them the opportunity to show what they can do. Because like he doesn't even do it in friendlies, really, does he? He doesn't really mix it up that much. So just give them a go.
yeah. I think I
Yeah.
definitely agree with that. I think there's some players there that we've not never really seen them properly utilised in a Scotland shirt. And you've got players like, I know it's the MLS and you talk about the quality of it, but you've got Ryan Gold and Lewis Morgan there who have done really well this season. In the MLS, both of them looking at their stats, and still they kind of get just Steve Clarke looks beyond him.
Yeah, well, Gold has been shunned for years. And
Yeah, I was going to make a point on Ryan Gold. You know, when you were saying you had your left field take for kind of Henderson's cat
I
and
kind of thought
Alex.
you would say him, Laurie.
I was going to go down the Ryan Gold route. I mean, by the way, on Ben Doka, I would not be against that at all. And the kind of, and that applies for Lewis Morgan probably as well. The flashes that we've seen of these guys in a Scotland shirt, they've looked all right. So, give them a go because this break is pretty much, and it pains me to say this break is pretty much a free hit, right? I mean, we're underdogs against Croatia on Saturday, as we record this, and then the Portugal game could be an interesting one, if the crowd can get behind the Hamlin. But I mean, we're very much underdogs, so it's a case of nothing to lose. So we're just we need to go for it. And in terms of giving people chances like that, I mean, it's not really Steve Fox, but I think he's very much a kind of incremental changes kind of guy. And it was the same when he was, in the club game as well. But I think this is the time where, we can give opportunities, be it to the likes of Doak, Gold, Morgan, or even, as we were saying, that midfield's feeling locked down, even if it's given Andy Irving a cap or whatever, you know what? What's there to lose?
Exactly, yeah. You mentioned there the phrase free hit. I feel like for me, it's a free hit for the players, and
Mhm.
this might stop Clark from making the changes because I don't think it's a free hit for him.
Good
Um,
point.
because he's coming under a lot of pressure. We haven't won in our last 16, 15, 16, something like that.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it's
which,
like 15, yeah, or
which is
no, something like that, or one win in the last 14, or something like
it's
that, something ridiculous.
yeah, something crazy, which is like, and then people go, oh, look at the opposition and blah blah blah, but we're not winning against teams that we should beat either. Should have beat Hungary, probably should have beat Switzerland on just on the basis of overall play. Should have beat Poland most recently. And we're not asking for the people that make the argument, oh, how do you expect them to win against Germany and the Netherlands? I'm not expecting that. I'm not. I just want. I just want us to win some games that we should be winning. We've dropped. He's done a lot for us, but the most recent run's been poor. We've dropped out of the top 50 when I think we were in the 30s
Yeah,
climbing. We've dropped out of the top 50 in the UEFA ranking in the world. We're not going to get anything out of this Nations League group. We did fail to qualify for the World Cup. Sorry, not World Club. In a quite whimpering fashion. We did qualify for the Euros though. We did nothing there, and we're on a terrible run. The squad, it's certain areas it's stale. Maybe this is why I want to see these guys get an opportunity because I'm fed up of the same old faces. Like change it up from Lyndon Dykes, change it up from Grant Hanley. Like give people opportunities because what you're doing isn't working. And I feel like this break, you'll maybe get this break in the next one. Although the FA, I feel like the SFA will be um, apprehensive to pull the trigger. But if the pressure keeps building and the fans keep kind of going like, "What's going on here?" I feel like this break in the next one could be his last. And I'm grateful for all he's done for Scotland, but time moves on, you, and it might have become stale. And I think someone new in the dugout should be what Scotland are looking for. That's my kind of rant over, but yeah,
um, yeah. I think I don't think this break's riding on much. It's just riding on the kind of the tolerance of the Scotland fan base. I think no one's expecting us to beat Croatia or Portugal, but I think if we go into these games and we get battered and we just don't look very good at all, then the discontent amongst the support is only going to grow, and the kind of negative feel around the national team is only going to get greater. So we just need to bring some players. I feel like if we brought a few players in that maybe haven't got a lot of caps, brings that sort of excitement to the fan base that, oh, he played well.
yeah, and these guys as well. It's like when you bring a 19-year-old into the first team. they play without fear because it's their opportunity they've been given. It might be a bit different because some of these guys are older, like Irvin's 24 and that sort. Lindsay's 28. They've never played for Scotland before, and if you give them the chance, they'll play their hearts out and they'll give everything. And
Yeah.
some of these guys might take it for granted, like Lyndon Dykes, who's rubbish, and he's just getting call up after call up after call up.
But I was just gonna say, you said about bringing in like at club level, bringing in the sort of like the people that play with no fear, those kind of younger players. But we're not asking them to bring in sort of 19-year-olds, 18-year-olds. I know Lennon Miller, so obviously a lot of people wanted him in the squad. But these are some experienced players who have performed well in their respective leagues and probably deserve a shout when players are really not living up to it, and especially some of them are making some horrendous mistakes.
Yeah.
Dare I go off on a bit of a rant now? And to be fair, and it's hard for me to say it and sometimes hear it at times, with being a Kilmarnock fan and appreciate Steve Clarke as well
And a
from
self-anointed Clarkologist.
yes, indeed. And I'm more than happy to have that title. And of course, when the day does come when he moves on from the job, I'll be upset for him, of course. But even I can now see quite clearly that his days may well be numbered because the Tartan Army nor the SFA surely will accept an entire Nations League campaign you know, where we go through the entire thing without getting a win or without getting a point. And I'm not saying this will happen because, of course, we've got this break.
I think
I'm
it's a realistic thing to look at, though, based on how things have been
absolutely,
happening for Scotland. It's not far
yeah,
away. It's not going. It's kind of sad though that it's got to this point where you're kind of thinking, oh, we might not win, and like we might not get a single point. And Scotland have never been like, if you maybe you need to go back 50, 60 years for when Scotland were actually like good and they had class players. And they
yeah.
didn't manage to do anything there as well. But we've got good players now. We've got a good group, and we should be better. We're not asking for World Cups and Euros. We're just asking for like performing and beating teams that we should be beating.
Yes, 100%. And I think the whole no wins, no points thing is sadly a possibility. And I mean, Steve Clarke is not naive. He will know that all too well that that is very much a possibility. If that happens, I'd be willing to guess that he'd be gone. Unfortunately for him. Speaking of people who are gone, this could be an interesting one, kind of dynamic wise. It was announced just before the squad was brought out with this international break that Austin McPhee has moved on. Of course, he's more well known to people as being Unai Emery's set piece coach at Aston Villa. He's still in that role, but he was doing something similar with Scotland. I mean, dare I say, of late, the set pieces have been a bit ineffective. So I wonder if that changes anything with Austin McPhee moving on, although Steve Clarke did say, at least just now, there's no intention, at least in the short term, to replace them, which might give us an idea about Clarke's future as well. Who knows?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's a bit strange that yeah, as you said, the Scotland set piece form comes nowhere close to Aston Villa's recent set piece form. But yeah, I think that could be a kind of wee hint as to where the future is going for the national team. But I think it's as Alex said, it's a free hit for the players. A lot of those players, hopefully, will get their first minutes. Hopefully, some of them will get their first starts. But it isn't for Steve Clarke, and he's got to keep the scores down on the games. I know the last few games there's not been any thrashings, maybe barring Germany, but it's just the kind of overall consensus around the national team is just very negative at the moment, and he needs to kind of give Scotland fans something to look forward for the World Cup qualifying
Yeah,
campaign coming up.
yeah. It
Yeah.
feels like before we qualified for the Euros the first time around. When I was very young, I'd go to Scotland games. I'd ask my dad to go and that. And then as I got older, and I was like, Scotland are on, it would just be a chore to watch them. And then, it started getting better again. And you might call me a glory hunter, but it was exciting to watch my country, playing well. I'd still watch the rubbish games, but, I'd maybe like do stuff during them and like, or turn it off halfway through or something. But then, we got started getting better and better. And even if we didn't win, I'd enjoy watching them. And there'd be something there, but it's getting to that point again where I'm like, oh, Scotland are on. Instead of, oh, the Scotland game's on, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and what makes that increasingly awkward is it has changed in such a short space of time. If you were to, cast your mind back like 6 months, everyone was like up here with Scotland and being like, all, buzzing about it because of how incredible our qualifying run was. You've just got to remember that we beat the eventual champions in the qualifying and arguably could have got a result against them twice if it wasn't for some of the worst officiating ever. But
Hmm.
but, but like we've gone from we've gone from there to like I'm not going to quite call it Alex McLeish levels. Let's call it kind of mid-term Golden Strachan levels within like less than 6 months.
Yeah, definitely. And if he keeps going the rate he is, we might go to Bertie Volk's levels. So,
Oh God.
that's maybe what gives you the full thing of what I think of how Steve Clarke's doing. And once again, I'm not saying I'm not grateful for everything he did because he did something that I never thought I'd see. I never thought I'd see us in a tournament again. But he's had a good squad. He's had advantages. He's had an extended tournament to get into, and you might call me like a really negative guy, a Clark hater, you could say, but I feel like I'm just being practical, and in football things change, and I think it is time to move on. But anyway, you know, I'm still going to watch Scotland. Hopefully, we can win, and if we will, I'll be on this. I'll be well done, Steve, if he can turn it around. I'm not rooting against them, obviously, but I can't see it changing. But I think that sort of wraps it up for uh, today's episode. We've covered a lot going into these games, covered the squad, and then I had my own wee rant there. But thank you to everyone for watching and listening. Thank you to Laurie and Ethan for joining me to talk about the Scotland national team. Go and check out our Twitter at the Dugout 2024. We've maybe not been as active on there as we can be, but we are trying. We've just sometimes it slips the mind. But anyway, thank you to everyone for watching and listening. Goodbye.